Intuition, what is it anyway? And do you have it? Is it real? How do you access it? I'm Marcy Langlois, and you're listening to Living Beyond Limits. This week, we are going to explore your questions about intuition so that you can learn how to trust yourself in a whole new way and make changes to lead your life in a more fulfilling and meaningful way. When I started my own personal work over 20 years ago, I thought all of this stuff about intuition was nonsense, frankly. My therapist would tell me things like, your work is to learn how to connect to yourself so that you can access that inner knowing that you have, Marcy. What does that even really mean? If working with my intuition, it always felt like it was so elusive to me. I thought I had to be doing something wrong because I could never seem to tap into it, right? Where was it? Intuition felt to me like this special gift that other people had, but I wasn't lucky enough to get it. I wondered, is anyone really able to understand their intuition? Or were they making it up? It took me years to wrap my mind around intuition. And here's what I figured out. I was overthinking it. Imagine that, right? Can you relate at all? I have found that intuition to be this incredible gift. If I can get my thinking, over analytical, processing mind out of the way, there it is. There's the intuition. Let's take a look at what I've been able to find out about intuition. First, let's define the word. What is intuition exactly? Well, according to the Oxford Dictionary, intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. Intuition is really understanding something so deeply, you don't even really need to think about it. That kind of definition really demystifies what intuition is, and it takes the concept from the state of airy-fairy and woo-woo to something concrete and tangible. Now that we can agree on what intuition is, I have to go back to how I used to feel about intuition. Does everyone have this deep understanding how to use it? Or was I just one of the unlucky ones who was born without intuition? You know, sort of like some people are born without a natural sense of rhythm or athletic ability. To get to the bottom of that question, I looked to a great article in 2019 in Psychology Today, 8 Truths About Intuition by Matthew Hudson. That article really works through all the ins and outs of whether or not intuition is indeed real. Whether we look to the quick judgments we make 1,000 times a day about small decisions, or we look to life and death scenarios, studies suggest that, yes, indeed, humans are born with an innate sense of intuition. So as someone who wants to empower myself and others, I think exploring the topic of intuition is incredibly valuable. There have been so many times that intuition has made a huge difference in my life. From the small everyday things of thinking about a friend and then they call to the bigger situations. Here's one example, and I'm just going to share a gentle warning in case you're disturbed by this topic. I'm going to mention about my car accident. So if you prefer to skip ahead by about 10 seconds, you can pass right by the more challenging content. So here's a quick example. So on the day of my car accident, instead of driving my barely street legal Volkswagen Bug, I ended up driving my mom's car. It's highly likely that had I been in my old VW Bug, I would have been killed. How did my mom know to offer her car to me that day? I don't know if you call that intuition, but she was moved to offer it to me. I didn't hesitate and accepted the offer. Looking back, I can say it certainly was amazing that I was in that car that was much, much safer on the day that I was involved in a fatal car accident. How does intuition play out in your life? Have you ever gone through an experience that felt really scary? Things felt impossible and that you weren't sure how you were going to get to the other side, but you actually ended up making it? After you reach the landing, you take a minute to look back and you reflect and notice that in the heat of the moment, you made decisions, right? These huge decisions. But as you review everything, can you see that those decisions were critical in some way? That's intuition. You don't always see it in the moment unfolding in the current circumstances, but looking back, you can clearly see that the right thought showed up to solve the issue at hand, right? It comes just like that, out of nowhere. The thought comes, you make the decision, you move, and it shifts the entire experience that you're having. If intuition is indeed real and we all have access to it, then how do we tap into it, right? Well, that's the big question. The answer is connecting to your heart. I have sat in lots and lots of meditation groups, sanghas, classes, retreats, And really, no matter where I've gone, they all bring me back to the same place, which is connecting to my own heart. I've taken bits and pieces of all of the things that I've learned over time and put them together in a way that makes sense for me and is aligned with what feels right. Here is what I do to get in a place where I can feel like I can access that intuition that I have. So you can sit or lay down quietly, whatever is the most comfortable for you, honestly. You want to start with setting an intention for your practice. If you have something specific that you'd like to be revealed to you, then ask. Ask up front that this practice will reveal that. If you have a big choice to make or a decision, just ask that that be revealed. Now, what you're going to do is start breathing very naturally. And as you're doing that, notice your breath. Literally follow your breath in and out. And now imagine that the breath is flowing through the heart, in through the heart, and then exhaling out through your heart, as though your heart is breathing instead of your lungs. Take several breaths with this very specific attention on your heart. You should feel your mind and body relax as you do this. Continue to breathe this way for as long as you would like to, but at least for a minute or two. Then ask yourself what it is that you're wanting to know for your intuition. Typically, the first answer that you feel or hear is the answer to your question. In my experience, this kind of exercise has been super helpful for me. It's all about slowing the mind and body down so that I can connect to my heart. And voila, there's the answer. Every single time for me without fail. All that we need is within us. I cannot stress that enough to you. You have all of your own answers. Everything that you need is within you. I like to think that my innate understanding that gets me through these difficult experiences is part of my spiritual connection, my higher self or soul that knows more than what my conscious mind knows. I personally feel things in my heart and in my gut. That is where I try to operate from. Intuition is a tool that you have inherently within you. Your intuition can help you make split-second decisions to assess people's character and potentially allow you to navigate life with a bit more ease. When you tap into your intuition, you act from a more heart-centered, open, feeling, sensing perspective rather than being stuck in a logical mind. Moving from head to heart feels more freeing to me and opens up a door to creativity and the softer side of life, rather than the rigidity that the thinking mind operates from. For me, I personally feel like intuition is an opportunity to align with my authentic self and to live my life in a space of purpose, passion, fulfillment, rather than the to-do list, grit, and daily grind. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope that I've answered some of your questions around intuition. I'd love to hear from you about how intuition has impacted your life. Visit my website and drop a comment. If there's more that you're curious about, let me know, and I can do future episodes based on those topics. Please take a moment to share this episode with family, friends, and colleagues. Also, if you have a moment, please be sure to follow us on any of the social media platforms. Have an incredible week and always be aiming to live beyond limits.